QJO Initiative exists to inspire action by highlighting the stories of the tired, the bruised, and the bloody in pursuit of their life's purpose. We will participate in recreation with intention to reveal the highs and lows that accompany each person on the journey to success. We are SGOC Media, and this is the Quit Jerking Off Initiative.
I'd like to kind of go back to where it all started from you. Telling us, how does a kid go from Radio Shack to the .com company, and how did that pave the way to where you're at today?
I have to go back to when I was like 9 or 10 years old. The thing is I've always been interested in money. I never knew why. And back then I used to think I wanted to be rich. But my definition of rich today is completely different than what I thought rich was back then. Back then it was just about possessions. Today it's about having my time, having complete personal freedom, and having the financial freedom to be able to have that time freedom. In my business today, I call it from financial frustration to financial freedom. But back then, it's just, I knew I wanted to be wealthy in some way, shape, or form, and I started studying money. Back when I was a teenager, 14, 15, 16, I couldn't drive. I had to get my parents to take me to the store to buy books. But long story short, I ended up buying books about business and entrepreneurship and real estate, and I devoured them. I just constantly kept reading them to figure out in my head how I was going to do that. But I was very ambitious. Like as a 13-year-old, my parents, I begged them to death, like to the point where I was in tears, they were in tears. But they ultimately bought me a TRS-80, a Radio Shack computer, and I taught myself how to code. And I was developing a game like Pac-Man, but with a farmer being chased by these overgrown radioactive fruits and vegetables. My goal was to sell that to make money, because then I wanted to do other things and other things and other things. But the reality is back then 4K, 16K, not megabytes or gigabytes, but K of memory was a very small amount, and you ran out of it very quickly. And that's what happened. I never did finish the game, but I cut my teeth on it. So trial and error, if you're going to fail, fail fast and fail forward. And that's what happened. And I went on to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and then ultimately I bought a piece of real estate and went on to other things. So long answer to your short question, but really that's kind of how it went from your question of Radio Shack to other things. I moved to the United States in 1998 because my quote-unquote cousin, not a true blood relative, but we grew up together. Him and I, he approached me, said, hey, I have this existing business, it's a good little business, but I want to spin it off into the .com world, because back then the internet was all the rage. Everybody was like starting a .com business, and the dream of being a millionaire through a .com IPO was in everybody's eyes. And there were a lot of people who were becoming very wealthy because of the .com success stories. So I moved to the US, and I was the third partner in this venture. We went and raised $9.5 million through venture capital funding. We started hiring, we started growing the business, we brought in a CEO, and we got up to 105 employees. We had a sales floor, we had product, we essentially were the Amazon.com for the country club industry. So they could order everything, we used to say, from toilet paper to tractors. Unfortunately, the NASDAQ crashed, as you guys probably remember. And at that point, venture capital funding dried up. So we couldn't sustain the business. Our burn rate was $100,000 a month. We just couldn't keep the business going. So we started laying people off. I actually had to lay off the most people because I was in charge of the IT department, and we had the most people in our department, and we had to lay all those people off, unfortunately. I was the third partner, third to come into the business, and the third last to leave. Wow. And then I just took some time off after that. And it was one of those moments where you could taste becoming a multimillionaire. It was right there. Going public, we were going to our mezzanine level and then ultimately public, and it was right there. And then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, gone, like that. I didn't want to go back into corporate America. I hated a job. I didn't want to do it. And so I took almost 2 years off from 2001 to 2003. And then, real estate kind of came back into my life, and I guess it was meant to be. I just decided, hey, I'm going to go to a Robert Allen free seminar, 3-day free seminar for Robert Allen. And that put me back on the path of real estate.
What did that 3 days at Robert Allen, how did that domino into Marco Santarelli's, Norada and passive
That's
Real Estate Investing Podcast.
Long story short, what happened was middle of the summer, I got this email out of the blue from Robert Allen. Back then, he had an organization called EWI, the Enlightened Millionaires Institute, which he renamed to the Enlightened Wealth Institute. So EMI to EWI. But I don't know how I got on his list. I got an email, and it was this 3 free-day seminar in Orange County, California. Come on down, right, and learn everything you can. And I did. I had time on my hands, and I was interested in real estate, and I was an entrepreneur, so it was the perfect timing. So I went to this event, and it was unbelievable. The speaker, a guy named Glenn, he had you riveted to your seat. The things he talked about was just a fire hydrant of information constantly for 3 days. If you had to go to the bathroom, you didn't go because you waited for the break. It was just that good. But it was one of those places where, the content was so good, you wanted more. And so they were selling these packages for $15,000, $25,000, and ultimately $35,000 at the back of the room. So at the first major break, which was probably lunch or at the end of the first day, all these people are running to the back of the room, credit card in hand, ready to spend $15,000, $25,000, $35,000 for these 5 or 6 boot camps. And again, I had time on my hands, and I had a credit card, so I was running to the back of the room as well. And I signed up. But that event was a turning point. So it was fortunate for me that came along, because that made 2 major changes in my life. Number one, it got me back into real estate investing full time, and I was buying a lot of property. In fact, in a 9-month period, I acquired 84 doors. So that was a lot of real estate in a very short period of time. But in parallel to that, what had happened is the people who were at these boot camps along with me were coming to me saying, hey, I see you're buying a lot of real estate. I'm watching you. I see what you're doing. We're taking the same program, the same course. We're in these same boot camps, and I'm not pulling the trigger. I'm just not doing it. Can you coach me? Can you mentor me? And my response was, I'd love to, but I'm sorry, I can't. I don't have the time. I'm too busy doing deals.
Yeah.
But I am looking at a lot of deal flow. I'm underwriting these deals. I'm happy to pass them along to you. So the way my business started was I was essentially putting these properties under contract and then assigning them to you for $2,000 or $3,000. You as the buyer were paying me. But then I flipped that around because I was licensed, then I got my broker's license, and I turned it into the business that it is today, where we're providing you everything from soup to nuts for free. And that's how Norada Real Estate Investments was born. It was just you guys coming to me saying, hey, I need help. No, sorry, I can't, but I can give you deal flow. And I just wanted to be the guy at the end of the food chain. I didn't want to be the guru, the mentor, the trainer, the coach. I wanted to be the guy that, at the end of the day, I'm going to give you the deals. So that's what happened with that email that I got in the middle of summer. It's like, hey, good timing.
Again, just an email.
One email changed my life.
Well, one email sparked the thought. That sparked action.
Yep.
Then the action, sparked more action. It was a chain reaction in reality. What does Norada stand for?
Nothing. It's just a very brandable name. I struggled to find a name for the business that was not taken in a domain name, something.com.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything, and I went for a month or 2 trying to find a domain name. Then I remembered this name that I found from a guy up in Calgary, Canada, that named his corporation Norada Corp. And I love the name so much, I asked him, I said, hey, what does Norada mean? He goes, well, it doesn't mean anything. We came up with a list of 100 names, and we wanted to pick the best, most powerful, strong name for our company. We sent that list off to a psychological test, some sort of psychological evaluation. Of the 100 names, the one that came out at the top of that list was Norada, or Norada, however you want to pronounce it. So he named his company Norada Corp. And I filed that in the back of my head, and that was a long time ago. So then when I was looking for a name for the business and a domain name for the website, I thought, well, you know what, I can't find anything I like, so how about we just take Norada, or Norada, and put real estate behind it, and see if that's available. Of course it's available. And so that's how the company was named.
Where it came from. Interesting.
Awesome. Yeah.
And how easy was it getting the podcast started?
I waffled for about 2 years deciding whether I should do YouTube or podcasting, and because I was waffling back and forth, I just did nothing. It was just, I was paralyzed. But, I basically watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how to start a podcast, and got myself a professional microphone or digital recorder.
So you debated on podcast or YouTube, or watched a YouTube on how to podcast.
Exactly. Absolutely. But it worked out. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm glad I did it, and in hindsight, I should have done it 2 years earlier. It allows you to cross-pollinate and take your message about mortgages and financing and wealth and financial freedom and stuff, and pass those ideas on to other people. And then, they get that, and they get other stuff from other podcasts, and it all comes together, and that free education is amazing, because there's no excuse not to educate yourself today. Be it books, which are cheap, $10, free podcasts, and there's hundreds of them, all that stuff.
As far as like the podcast itself, right? You did a couple YouTubes to create it. Now you have it, and at one point, I mean that thing had a pretty high standing, or still does, or. And where's that ranking sit now? Do you track that?
Yeah, well, no, I don't watch it often. It's always in the top 100 in terms of business podcasts, and it's in the top 30 business investing podcasts.
Sweet. Well, congratulations, dude. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I do it because my overall mission is really to help 1 million people get on the path to financial freedom through real estate. And I don't care if they do business with us or not, but at the end of the day, if I can help move them and nudge them and put them on that path and get them to move along. And I get emails quite often, people saying, hey, just want to thank you. You've changed my life. You've helped me and my family. Here's what you've done for me. I've been listening to you for years. So I know I'm reaching people, I'm touching lives, I'm helping to change lives, and that feels good. So that's the goal.
Well, what you do is not easy. And where you go, all the stuff that you're trying to accomplish, the endless hours you put in, the time, it's not easy, but I just appreciate that you're there.
Yeah, well,
keep getting it done.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you. I mean, you help us out a lot. We send a lot of our clients your way.
You go back to the gold rush of the 1800s, right? Who made the most money?
Picks and shovels.
Guys selling picks and shovels. That's what you and I do. We sell picks and shovels.
Yeah.
When I tell people, they're like, "You sell picks and shovels?" It's like, yeah. I said, the difference is between the guys in the 1800s. They don't care where you put the pick and shovel into the ground, because you bought the pick and shovel. We care.
Yeah.
Because if we give you the proper information to put it in the right place, you don't just need picks and shovels going forward. You need personnel. You need heavy equipment. You're going to need trucks. You're possibly and hopefully need a damn train to haul all of it. Because if you do, who do you come to for the equipment?
Right.
Us. We become wealthy because you became wealthy. If you start to fail, we start to fail. And I know you, like me, would say we violently oppose failure. It's not going to happen.
Right. It's not an option.
After this weekend, right? This weekend for us, and we had dirt roads, but I don't want to go down a dirt road. I want that rocky, nasty, ridiculously unbelievable obstacle when you pull up to that. If the rest of the world looks at me like, there's no way. And we want to take our shit over that one because it feels better to accomplish that, right?
Well, that was my reaction. I'm looking at these rocks, and I mean, there's big holes in the ground, and I don't know how you get over that thing, but you did it. I mean, you guys drove those Jeeps over these rocks that I never thought you could ever go over and around, but you did it. And so you showed me a way of getting, around things that I thought might be somewhat impossible, believable, but maybe somewhat impossible. And you did it. So, that's, I think, a good lesson for a lot of people. It's just don't look at something and have your first reaction or draw a conclusion that that's insurmountable, because it probably is if you just know how to do it. And shit, if you can't go over it, go around it, go under it, but get around it.
Sometimes you got to find the right line, and sometimes you got to actually enhance the equipment.
Yeah.
So that means you got to either go educate yourself a little bit more in life and business, to go back at it.
So that actually makes a good point. It's a great analogy, because if you look at something and it can be done, but you can't do it yet, go back, sharpen your saw, educate yourself, better prepare yourself, train, whatever it is, because you're going to come back and you're going to go over that hill.
Everything's possible. It's just, do you have the knowledge? Do you have the skill set? Have you honed those things? You have the equipment, and you got the balls.
I'm going to add one more to that.
Yeah.
Have the right team.
And the right team.
You can't conquer the world by yourself.
True.
If you have goals, especially big goals, you got to bring the right people on board to go with you and support you and help move you along. Yeah. Whether it's your wife, CPA, your mortgage broker, whatever it is, you need a team.
To stand right here at this spot, what was the one? What of all things? What would you have say was that was just completely brutal, but yet led you to standing here?
If you're referring to the last 17 years or so, probably grinding it out for the first 5 years, because it takes a lot to, it takes a certain amount of courage to get started, then it takes a certain amount of grit and persistence to continue through the ups and downs, the failures, the dry months of, no income or no revenue, and build a business. Most businesses fail in the first 2 years. A very high percentage, and then the next major milestone is 5 years. if you get past 5 years, you probably have a very legit, viable business. So getting, just grinding it through those first 5 years by myself, no employees, just myself, was really hard. Unfortunately, that's around the time when we went to the 2008, Great Recession. So business was going well by that point. But then, we hit this, this Great Recession, and credit dried up. There was no financing, and I had to lay off the 2 people I had at that point, my 2 assistants, and scale back, cut expenses. Lean as lean can be, yeah. And I had just enough in reserve to kind of weather through that 2-year period. But I was still marketing, I was still branding. I mean, I didn't spend as much, but that was the tough part right there. The first 5 years, and then getting through that recession.
I did not know you went to you answered an email, went to a seminar to become what you are today, which is, I would say, one of the most respected people in the real estate industry. Of all the people I hear about, people bring up Marco Santarelli and Norada, and I will always say to everybody, there's no better collection of minds, and I'll say that right here on camera to the whole freaking world. There's no better collection of minds that I have dealt with so far in your space, because you have taken the time to assemble that collection of minds. So well done there. I just appreciate you coming out and always being willing to hang. Maybe we've done some cool shit together.
We've done a lot together.
Yes, we have.
It's great.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate it. Thanks,
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it. Really enjoyed
Hey,
meeting you.
thanks, you too. Appreciate it.